Unless you run a large architecture practice, the chances are that you don't have your own marketing department. But you do still need to market yourself if you want to keep securing new clients. So how can you effectively market your business with limited time and resources? That's exactly what I uncover with Sarah Noel Block in this episode of Architecture Business Club, the weekly podcast for small firm founders who want to build their dream business in architecture and enjoy more freedom, flexibility and fulfillment in what they do. I'm John Clayton, your host. I know that building an architecture business can feel hard, especially if you're a sole practitioner. The good news is that you don't have to do it alone. Last year, we launched our membership community to a small group of founding members, including architects, architectural technologists and interior designers. We meet online each week and occasionally in person to support each other in building our businesses and to have some fun along the way. On the 1st of March 2025, we are opening the doors to a limited number of new members. If you'd like to join this supportive group of like-minded professionals, now's your chance. Just go to architecturebusinessclub.com/waitlist or click the link in the show notes and enter your details so we can let you know when and how you can join this incredible group. And if you have any questions, just email John, that's Jon, at architecturebusinessclub.com. Now, let's learn how you can build a lean marketing engine for your business. Sarah Noel Block is the founder of Tiny Marketing and creator of the Lean Marketing Engine. She's passionate about revolutionizing marketing for founder-led business service companies. With over a decade of experience, Sarah has mastered the art of efficient, high-impact marketing that drives growth without draining resources. Her approach leverages lean principles to create scalable marketing strategies, ensuring every dollar spent translates into measurable results. Her mission is to empower businesses to build a pipeline of ready-to-buy prospects using smart, streamlined tactics to achieve their goals. And you can hear more from Sarah over on the Tiny Marketing Show, which you can find on your favourite podcast player. Sarah, welcome to Architecture Business Club.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here, especially as a fellow music fan. We were just having a chat about your playlists. Could you tell me about those? You're really into music, aren't you?
I am very into music. We, in January, we already planned a full year of concerts and road trips dedicated to music festivals. So yeah, Spotify is like my life.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Is there any artists in particular that's getting hammered on your Spotify at the moment?
Yeah, of course. I always go through those fixations. Hosier, Noah Kahan, Rainbow Kitten Surprise, they're all on repeat right now. Oh, and Rage Against the Machine because, Trump.
We share a love of Rage Against the Machine. I absolutely love them. And I've frustratingly never had the chance to see them live. I'm kind of living hope that they might just reform and do like a few dates in the UK at some point in my lifetime. So
that would be cool.
It would be cool, absolutely. But in the meantime, I have to settle for just listening to them on Spotify. But never mind, hey, it's all good. We're not here to chat just about music, although I probably could talk about music for quite a few hours. We are going to talk about building a lean marketing engine so that architecture practices with tiny or non-existent marketing departments can still effectively and efficiently grow their business. I guess the best place to start with this would be, what do you mean when you talk about a lean marketing engine?
Yes. So I don't think we talked about this before, but I came up in the AEC world. So I am very familiar with like the architecture, engineering, construction world. And when I talk about lean marketing engines, it's finding the most streamlined way to get in front of that dream client and making sure that they are aware that they are your dream client and that you can solve their problems. So it's really about identifying those traits and triggers that they have in needing you and making sure that your messaging and your content align. So they're like, hey, that's me. They're raising their own hands.
I love that. Particularly important for those businesses that don't have the benefit of having a big marketing department or somebody dedicated to help them, that we do need to find ways to do this very efficiently. And this is where this really comes in. So this marketing engine, it's made up of 6 parts. So could you walk me through that? Could you tell me about the first part of the marketing engine?
Yes. So the first part is all about identifying that dream client. And when I say that, so many people think, oh, you want me to niche down? I hate that idea. And I do too. You don't have to niche down to this like specific industry or whatever building. You need to identify the traits that your favorite clients have had and the triggers that made them need you in the first place. And that becomes your dream client. Just take a few minutes to sit down and write down what it is that your favorite clients had. Like maybe they all were in the hospital space. Maybe they all worked with certain clientele. I don't know. You start writing it down and you're going to start seeing that the traits that they have and the triggers that cause them to reach out to you in the first place, that there's similarities. Start circling those similarities that you're finding as you're writing down this list. And you've got your dream client outlined. And that is what you want to plug into your messaging. So everything that you talk about is speaking directly to them. It basically allows you to clone your favorite clients.
Okay, so this isn't necessarily just thinking about, oh, well, they're like 30 to 50 years old and it's typically females or anything like that. This is a different way to look at this.
No, I don't care about any of those things, really. What I care about is what was it about my offer, what I do, that made you need me specifically? Because there's a reason that they chose you to do that job. And other people going through what they're going through are going to need you too. Who cares if they're 50? I don't.
No, I mean, if we're offering a service that solves their problem and we're best placed to help them to do that, and we're a good client and we enjoyed working with them, then yeah, who cares? Like, who cares what age they are or whatever? It's something like that's probably not really that relevant.
Yeah, I can see it in the consumer space. Maybe that you've written down those traits that your favorite clients have, and they have been in a certain age range. And that would make sense based off of that consumer space that you're in. But 90% of the time, those little demographics, like they're likely a dog owner and this is their age range. This is where they live. Most of the time in like the B2B space, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think people will typically refer to like identifying a client avatar, and there's these very specific metrics that they'll look at, as you say. And yeah, at the end of the day, like we can actually talk to our clients that we've worked with and we can ask them about this, can't we? Those clients that we've already had, those really great clients that we've worked with already, we can just actually ask them about what it was that drew them to us and what it was that they got out of working with us.
Absolutely. And I'd go one step further. I record every single call I have with my clients, every single one. So from the sales call to our monthly meetings, whatever we're doing, I'll download those transcripts, put it into ChatGPT and ask, what are the things that they like about working with me? What is it that triggered them to work with me in the first place? What traits did they talk about were happening when they reached out to me? And you can quickly identify some of these things that would make it easier for you to find people that just like them.
Such a fantastic tip for everybody there, that if you are not already recording those Zoom calls or Teams meetings and then using those transcripts, like there's so much you can pull out of those to help you to connect with more people like the clients that you're already enjoying working with. Cool. So the second part of the framework, so once we're clear on who our ideal clients are, what is it that comes next in the framework?
Yeah, the next thing is your signature offer. So what is it that you are providing for them? And more importantly, how do you provide it? So what's the framework or the journey that you're pulling your clients through from beginning to end? You need to identify that transformational arc that they're going through so you know how to explain it to people. If you get on a sales call with someone and you're vaguely describing the outcomes they're going to get, they might bite, but they're a lot more likely to bite if they can understand what the next step is and the step after that and how they're getting to that outcome. Because it feels too fluffy when you're just saying, this is what you're going to get without providing this framework and this is how we're getting you there. So signature offer is next, and making sure your positioning is just right. So you're tying those traits and triggers back to the offer. And this is why we're doing the offer.
That's interesting because it's a different approach to how many architects and architecture practices might approach things, because they might not necessarily have a signature offer. They might not think about what the services they provide in that way, that it might be like, well, we do a bit of everything. Like we design spaces and buildings, and we help people to, in the UK, it would be planning permission. Obviously, there's something similar like planning laws and legislations in the US as well for our friends in the US. But they might not necessarily have it all neatly packaged up into something like a signature offer.
I bet if they thought about it, there are things that people are coming to them specifically for. There are things that they're better at doing than other architecture firms are doing. Like maybe your thing is tenant development and you never really thought about it because it's just like, I did it for this company and then they told me and then they talked about me to another company. So I did it again. And now you're really damn good at tenant development. And you never really thought about it before. You're like, I'm just getting a lot of this work right now.
So if we have something that we offer, like this signature offer that's aligned with what our dream clients are looking for, and it's something that we're good at delivering, we enjoy delivering it as well, this is going to make this easier to sell, isn't it? Like if we've got that alignment.
Everything is easier. Everything is easier. Yes. Selling becomes, well, people are selling themselves at this point because you're tying your offer, their needs into your messaging and your content. So people are pre-selling themselves in that way. And then when they come to you and they're actually doing that sales call, it's more about logistics. Like, when can we start? What's it going to cost? That kind of thing, rather than why you. They've already been sold on why you if you do it right.
Sarah, a question that some of the listeners might have in their minds now, some of them might be feeling a little bit uncomfortable about just having one offer, like a signature offer. Can they still sell other things, like other services or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And this is like literally in my master class. Like, okay, you have your signature offer and that's what you're known for. And that's why it's so easy to sell it because you're known for it. But you can still have upsells, downsells, back-end offers, and a bunch of different other things that you're actually selling. But by focusing your messaging on that thing you're best known for, it's a lot easier, but you can still do other things. You're not tied to it.
Oh, well, that's going to be a huge relief for everybody. And I think as well, that just makes so much more sense because like then you are talking about and promoting this one, you're putting your energy into promoting this signature offer, which is the one that you're best at delivering. It's your area of expertise. It's the work that you really enjoy, those ideal clients that you really want to work with and you want more of, rather than spreading yourself really thinly and having a dozen different products and services that you're then trying to market and sell and not necessarily getting much traction with it because you're trying to do too many different things at the same time.
Yeah. And I dare the people listening to this right now to think about the contractors that they hire. Are you going to hire someone who's more of a generalist, or are you seeking out people who solve the exact problem that you need? For me, I can only speak for myself. For me, if I can find someone who's an expert on that thing, I'm going to hire them every time over someone who's a generalist.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mentioned before we hit record, we have a problem with our heating at home at the moment.
Yeah.
So like if I want to get that fixed, which I sure do, I want to get it fixed really quickly. So I've been looking for heating engineers, like people that specifically do that thing. I don't kind of look online and go, well, I'll just find some general building maintenance person that does a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Like I want somebody that can specifically come and fix this model of boiler. And that's what I'm looking for. And it's the same with any other service or product that we buy.
Exactly. I don't call my handyman when my dishwasher breaks down. I call GE and I said, get over here.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Okay, that makes so much more sense now. So yeah, we know who our dream client is. We've crafted our signature offer. You will talk about then choosing one main channel. Why just one? And what are we talking about when we talk about a channel? Is that social media channel?
Think like a watering hole where your ideal clients are spending time. So it could be social media. It could be a niche community like a Slack group or a circle group. Anywhere where your ideal customers are spending time. The more niche, the easier it gets because you become a big fish in that tiny pond. So I say one because I'm talking to tiny marketing departments or 0-person marketing departments. You don't have channel managers to build these mini communities around your brand on all of your channels. So you're going to be spread so thin. Your message is going to get lost, and you're probably going to get into that mode of ghosting after you post. We all do when we stretch ourselves too thin. We're like, all right, I did the thing. But you have to build a community around your brand. And that's why I say focus on one channel, because you realistically can't do that when you are on X, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere.
Yeah, and that's interesting. One of the first things that you said there was about the channel where your ideal customers are hanging out, like where they are. Like if there's no point, if you're wanting to get some inquiries and get some sales, then just because you enjoy Instagram, like that doesn't mean that's the right place to be if your clients, if that's not where they're most active. So that is something worth kind of recognizing, isn't it? Thinking, what is the platform where I can be where those ideal customers are, I can connect with them.
Yeah, you're not going to convert them to whatever channel you happen to enjoy. You have to go where they already are.
Yeah, that's going to be upsetting for some people. They might be hoping they can just go on TikTok and just like, some
I like
funny
TikTok
cat videos.
Too, but my business isn't there.
Yeah. Okay. The next thing we talk about is core content. You recommend creating some kind of core content. What do you mean when you talk about core content?
Yes. So let's say during your dream client phase, you develop a 3-pillar messaging system. Easy. And it identifies, what you do and the big highlight of the outcomes that you have. Then your core content is the anchor for that. This is where you're creating little teaching moments and building community, and it feeds everything else. So when I say core content, I mean one thing that you're willing to commit on a regular basis, and then you can use it as the anchor for everything else. So for myself, it's my podcast. Tiny Marketing is my core content. I committed to doing it weekly. Cool. Now, I take the transcripts from that podcast and I break it up into little teaching moments, and that becomes my email. That becomes my social media posts. That leads into the lead generator that I am doing that month.
Something that you mentioned there is about content repurposing, how you've chosen one main type of core content, which is your podcast, but then you're taking the text transcripts from that, and then you're finding a variety of different ways to be able to repurpose that. And then you've got content to use on your social media channels too, which is really cool. Could you give some other examples of perhaps some other types of core content that people could do? So we've talked about podcasting. Is there anything else that people could do for their core content if podcasting wasn't for them?
Yeah, and podcast is not going to be for everybody. Not everyone wants that. The thing that I direct my clients to first is a hybrid core content lead generator. So their core content is going to be something that actively brings in leads while also being that anchor that you can distribute as different pieces of micro content. So that might look like a monthly masterclass. It might even be as far and in between as an annual summit where they bring in speakers and they get little mini masterclasses and they have it all in one thing. But then every single one of those little mini masterclasses in that summit can become content and teaching moments for social and email throughout that year because it's so robust that it can feed your content for a year. And you can drive it all back to that on-demand summit after the fact. So it's creating an ecosystem. Those tiny teaching moments in your micro content lead back to the big content. And that big content leads to your active lead generators. So it's all playing together really nicely.
I love that. It's just everything working together so that you've got this core content. As you say, it could be the podcast. I guess it could be perhaps YouTube, could be a video channel possibly.
Yeah, it could be a YouTube show. It could be research reports that are quarterly. It could be a networking event. I actually have 100 different variations of what your core content can be within my tiny marketing club. There are, whatever your magic is, what you're good at, there's a way to turn that into core content. There's a variation.
I guess that would be the sweet spot, that if you can find a type of content that I don't want to necessarily say that entirely feels comfortable, because there is an argument to say that actually, growth happens when you move a bit out of your comfort zone. But actually, I think particularly if you're getting started, if it's something that feels so uncomfortable to do, you're not going to get consistent enough with it for it to be able to become a habit, particularly if it's something that you're looking to do regular. For me, I love podcasting. Podcasting is something that I've become very passionate about. So that would be the thing for me. But for others, as you say, it could be that it's an annual summit that gets promoted throughout the year and then gets repurposed. It could be regular events. It could be something that you're running, maybe a monthly masterclass. There's so many different options there for them. So that's really good to know that there are those options there for everybody, that they can choose something and test it and trial it out. Sarah, you suggest having a couple of things to generate leads. You did also mention there that this can also tie in to your core content as well, but you mentioned having two things to generate leads. Can you talk me through those and why they matter? Remember, don't forget to join the waitlist for our membership community, where you can meet other business owners who want the same thing as you. A thriving business that gives you more freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment. Just go to architecturebusinessclub.com/waitlist or click the link in the show notes and enter your details so you don't miss out on this amazing opportunity to improve your business and your life. And if you're enjoying the show, then please leave a 5-star review or rating wherever you listen to podcasts. Now back to the show.
Yeah, so I recommend a passive lead magnet and an active lead generator. The passive lead magnet is on demand. It's always available, always on. So it's dripping new leads in all the time. And that could be as simple as your newsletter sign up, or it could be a downloadable guide or an ebook, something like that, or even like a past masterclass that's available on demand now. I am always like, repurpose. If it already exists, use that. And then, so what you can expect is that slowly people just like drip into your funnel with that. And then the active lead generator, it is time sensitive. So it requires people to sign up during a certain period, and they have to consume it during that period or it disappears. So that brings in a flood of new leads at one time. That's why it's an active lead generator. It's usually live or time limited. So it's only available for a few days. And then you can expect a flood of leads at one time, and you can pull them all through that funnel simultaneously. So you can organize it a bit more, where those passive ones, you have to be a little on your toes and ready for them.
Okay, so the two quite different things there. So the passive ones, you said that it could be something like signing up for a newsletter. It could be a downloadable. Maybe you mentioned about repurposing. So maybe we've got something that maybe we delivered live or pre-recorded video that we're then repurposing into something that people can access and just at any point that they could sign up for this and consume that piece of content and get them onto your email list. But the other thing, the active lead generator. So that's going to be more things like, I guess that could be like an event, like a webinar or an in-person event possibly.
Yeah. I switch mine back and forth every other month. I have a masterclass, which is like quick and dirty, 30 minutes. I have one tomorrow. And the other one that I do on the alternating month is a paid workshop. So depending on the type of lead generator you're doing, you're going to get different levels of warmth in your leads. So passive lead magnets will bring in cold leads because they don't have to consume it right away. It might sit in their inbox forever. So they're leads, but they're pretty cold. And then we have active lead generators, which bring in warmer leads because if they want to consume it, they have to do it during that certain period of time. So I like those. But micro content or micro offers, like a paid workshop, something between the like $27 and $97 range, bring in hot leads because as soon as people apply monetary value to the thing that they're getting, they are a lot more likely to consume it. They're like, well, I paid for it. I am going to access that. I'm going to get that. And then we have our fire leads, which are people that are coming into our gateway offers, which is the next piece of this 6-part engine.
Yeah, that's really interesting that you talk through the difference between the hotness, the temperature of those leads that you're bringing in, that if it's something that people are getting for free, they're likely to be a colder lead, which is going to take longer to convert them into a customer. Like they're not as warmed up, they're not as ready, ripe and ready to buy. Whereas if it's somebody that's got some skin in the game, they've invested some money to attend a paid event or a masterclass, that they're going to be more ready for the next thing that's coming. They're going to be more likely to actually do the work and consume the content at your paid event or your workshop. They're more likely to attend it in the first place, having paid for it.
Yes.
But then they're going to be more ready to buy the offer that's coming next, which neatly segues us into the final part of the lean marketing engine, which is a gateway offer. What is a gateway offer? Yeah, the gateway offer.
It is an entry point offer for new clients to come in. So this is designed very strategically to pull people from that lead generator all the way to your signature offer. So how it works is it is a standalone offer and it costs between 10 to 25% of your signature offer. And the intention behind it is to get all stakeholders invested in the strategy you're creating to get them from point A, the pain, to point B, woohoo, I'm on the other side of that pain, the transformation. So it works in 3 steps. The first step is an interview. So you interview all of the stakeholders or decision makers at the same time to gather all of the information that you would need in order to create the best path forward for them. So what would that journey look like specifically for them? The second part is the documentation. So you need to create some sort of blueprint or strategy or audit or report or brief on what that transformation would look like. And in that documentation, you need to tell them what it would look like to move forward. So they have the option to take that strategy, do it themselves, or take that strategy and you will do it for them. So they need to have that point where you are connecting the pain, their goals, to the offer every step of the way in that moving forward section. And then part 3 is the live review. So during the live review, that's when the selling happens. You give it to them ahead of time so they have time to figure out what questions they have, talk about what they would want to revise. the live session, you do that, you have that conversation. And at the end, that's when you're going to move them like, hey, you can do this on your own, or you can have me do it. And this is what it would look like, and connect those dots. So you're connecting what you learned from that interview to the reason why you're choosing this path forward with them in your offer.
So I have a question. The first part of that first step, so the interview part, where you're asking those questions and you're learning about the transformation that they're essentially looking for, would that normally be part of that paid gateway offer, or is that like a lead in, like a sort of, sometimes people will have like a discovery call, that's something as a free unpaid thing before they then begin delivering a paid service?
We're getting paid.
You'd see that we're getting paid.
Yeah.
We're getting paid. I like the sound of it.
No, we're getting paid for that. That's hard work. So how I do it is I'll have like a 15 to 20 minute conversation with someone that's more of a fit check. Like, do we vibe? And is this someone I can help? And if this is someone I can help, then I'll say, okay, the next steps are to book your, insert entry offer here. And during that time, that's when we're going to do this interview, build out your strategy, and figure out your path to getting to this goal, whatever their goal might be. But your entry offer is going to take over, it's going to replace the discovery, the proposal, and the onboarding that you would typically have that's usually unpaid or not adequately assessed when you're deciding on your signature offer pricing.
Oh, I love that idea. So essentially there's certain elements that normally, the normal way of things, that it might be non-billable hours that these companies are writing off and saying, well, we have to spend so many hours having these conversations and meetings with prospective clients, and then doing this initial audit or analysis of their needs, and then putting it together into some kind of proposal, and all of that can take a lot of time, and they are often not getting paid for it. Whereas this way of working, having that packaged as a gateway offer that has some very clear deliverables that they get, and framing it and pitching it in such a way, means that we can do all of that stuff and get paid for doing it. And I guess it serves as a taster of actually experiencing what it's like to work with that client.
Yes. So it gives both of you the opportunity to say, we vibed or we didn't. I would want to work with them or I wouldn't. It also pretty much guarantees that the signature offer that you do is going to go off without a hitch, because you've pre-built the strategy that you're taking them through, and you have had them sign off, yes, I love this, before the project begins. So you have this roadmap that you can always go back to. Like, if they're pushing back, they're like, why are we doing this? This is why. It was in the strategy that you signed off on.
Yeah, I love that. Sarah, do you have any thoughts on an example of a gateway offer for an architect or architecture practice owner that might be listening in?
Let's see.
Putting you on the spot now.
You are. I didn't think about this ahead of time. Let's go with the tenant development chitty chat that I was using, example I was using earlier. So let's say a client comes to you and they're a business and they're like, we're looking at this space. It doesn't fit at all. It used to be a restaurant and we're going to be a barbershop. What do you think we should do? How do you visualize this project going? And what's the timeline it would look like and all of that? So if they're coming to you with something like that, then your gateway offer could be sitting down, having a conversation with everybody who's involved in that project. So you're getting all of their insights, putting down, writing a report on, okay, this is what you guys wanted. This is what I see would be the best path moving forward. And probably I would have some sort of list. Like, these are the line items that we would need to go through to turn this restaurant into a barber shop. I think it's the perfect location. Here are the stats on why it's a good location for a barber shop. This is what it would look like moving forward. So I think that would probably be a good way to bring people in, build them a solid strategy that is valuable without even having to move forward with you if they chose not to. So it's a good standalone offer. But it also is a great lead-in to hiring you for it. Because once you do that, they're like, you came up with a strategy. Why would I go with anyone else?
Yeah, that makes so much sense to me. It's like you mentioned there that this is something that has got standalone value on its own. So even if they decide, like in the case of an architect, like it could be that, as you say, they're doing some discovery, they've got that initial meeting, they're finding out everything about the aims for the project, and you're putting together a report that's making some recommendations. It's outlining perhaps what the next steps are, who else might need to be involved, what might need to happen, what the timescales might look like. And that is something that, whether or not they decide to work with you or whether they decide to proceed straight away or not, they've got something that's really, really valuable that they could, if they wanted, they could go and take that document and they could go and get quotes from some other practices.
Yeah.
But you're going to be in the driving seat. Like you're going to be their first choice. I mean, assuming that it's all gone well and you didn't kind of like, I don't know, clash or something, but assuming that it's all gone well, that you're a really good fit for each other, then why would they not be wanting to work with you?
Exactly. And think about it. Every single person, if they chose to go that route and shop it around, every single person is being compared to you, not someone else. You are the person or the business that they're comparing it to. And that puts you in a much better position than everyone else because they have to compare to you. And the other thing is, when you're working with businesses, the hardest thing is dealing with all of the different decision makers and them not agreeing, but you're getting that agreement ahead of time during that entry offer. So you've got everyone on board, and that makes selling to a committee of buyers a lot easier.
Yeah, so many benefits. I think something that I should just mention, if the listeners are wanting to learn a little bit more about entry offers, we have a podcast episode that was recorded a little while ago with Laura Robinson about first date offers. And there's some similarities between that and what we've been talking about here today regarding gateway offers. So if you want to kind of learn a little bit more about that concept, then go and check out that podcast episode as well. Sarah, this has been absolutely amazing, so useful for everybody. What would be the main thing that you'd like everybody to take away from the conversation today?
I would say when you're listening to this, start thinking about what a potential gateway offer could be for you. That's a great place to start when you're building your engine, because you're having so many interviews during that gateway offer process. At first, you're going to sell a lot of them because you need to get the reps in to get really good at it. You are going to have so many insights from your dream clients that you can use to feed all of the rest of this. You're going to better understand who your dream client is. You might be interviewing people and you're like, they actually suck. I don't want to work with more people like that. And they're eliminated from your dream client profile. You'll understand what aspects of your offer people actually care about and what you could maybe toss aside that don't matter. You'll learn what channels they spend time on, because you can ask during that time, and what kind of questions come up can feed your content, what you'd actually create content around. So everything else becomes easier. Start there.
I love that. Sarah, was there anything else that you wanted to add about the topic that we haven't already covered today?
I think we are good.
Awesome. Well, that just leaves me to ask my question that I like to ask the guests that come on the show. It's nothing to do with the topic we've been talking about. I just love to travel and to discover new places. And I was just wondering if you could tell me about one of your favorite places and what you love about it.
Well, one of my favorite places is Colorado, because it is everywhere you look. It's like a painting. It's the most beautiful state I've ever seen. But when you told me that you were going to ask that question at the beginning of this, the first thing that popped into my head is my car is my favorite place because I love road trips and I can go anywhere and the possibilities are endless. And I could just turn right instead of turning left and see something new.
I love that. That's so original as well, Sarah, because nobody on the show so far has said that their car is their favourite place, but that makes so much sense now that you've mentioned it. That's awesome. Sarah, thank you so much for being a guest on the show and for sharing your expertise with everybody.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. If people would like to learn more about you and connect with you online, where would be the best place for them to do that?
Yes. So my website is my name, sarahnoelblock.com. And I spend most of my time on LinkedIn. You can find me there. And it's just /Sarah Noel Block.
Perfect. I'll make sure that we also include a link to your website and your LinkedIn profile. We'll put those in the show notes as well. So you can just click the links in there and you can connect with Sarah there. Perfect. Okay. Thanks again, Sarah.
Thank you.
Next time, I share all the details about our membership community. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Architecture Business Club. If you liked this episode, think other people might enjoy it, or just want to show your support for the show, then please leave a glowing 5-star review or rating wherever you listen to podcasts. It would mean so much to me and makes it easier for new listeners to discover the show. And if you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss another episode. If you want to connect with me, you can do that on most social media platforms. Just search for @Mr. John Clayton. The best place to connect with me online, though, is on LinkedIn. You can find a link to my profile in the show notes. Remember, running your architecture business doesn't have to be hard, and you don't need to do it alone. This is Architecture Business Club.